Hi, I'm Richard Scrushy. For those of you that don't know me, I want to tell you just a little bit about my background. At a young age, in my 20s, I had an idea to build a healthcare company. I had been working with another healthcare company out of Houston, Texas. That was a New York Stock Exchange company, and I'd grown up through the ranks and climbed, if you will, the corporate ladder. But I had an idea to build a unique healthcare company, one that would help move the customer or the patient through the healthcare system and get them off the healthcare dollar. And I felt like the idea that I had was worthy to build throughout this entire country. And the vision that I had was multiple locations in every major city in America and all 50 states. I was able to put a business plan together. I was able to, with my originally just a business card, my dream, I was able to hire a management team of just a handful of guys that joined me. We were able to get venture capital financing. And with that dream, and simply just, we were in one room, we started with one desk, we had one telephone, and we built that company into a multi-billion-dollar company, a nationwide company, a company operating in all 50 states and in every major city in America, seeing literally millions of patients a year. And the company had a multi-billion-dollar value. It took us some time, but originally in just a few years we had a company that was doing $100 million a year, and then we grew from $100 million to $1 billion to $2 billion to $3 billion to $4+ billion. We had over 52,000 employees working with the company. We were working with physicians all over America and building healthcare facilities, all different types, but very cost effective. The idea was working. Now during that time, I also was able to build several other companies, some of which were became public companies. Two of them became New York Stock Exchange company. The original company I started became a Fortune 500 company. It was also in the S&P 500. And in 1997, we were given the honor of being in the top 50 companies in America. Quite a success over a relatively short period of time. One of the other companies that I was involved in founding that was listed on the New York Stock Exchange also became a Fortune 500 company. So I was involved in building 3 companies that became New York Stock Exchange companies, 2 of which were Fortune 500 companies, and then the one company that was in the S&P 500. And in doing that, I was involved in hiring, like I said, tens of thousands of people, creating jobs all over America. Now, after spending 30 years in the business world and building multiple businesses, serving on boards, being involved in again, growing these companies, financing these companies, turning just simple ideas and a vision into a multi-billion-dollar company, I made a decision that I wanted to write a book and tell and share with people, young entrepreneurs and those who are interested in growing a business, some of the things that I felt like were important, some things that you might want to know if your intentions are to build a large, successful company. And in that process, of course, we know that building a company, you start with a dream. You start with an idea. You have a vision, if you will. Well, we have to make sure that that vision works. And I wrote about this in my book. And if you have a passion and you have a vision, let's make sure that it works financially. So we have to run some numbers and do some performance. And again, I have a chapter in my book on converting the dream into reality, of course, running the numbers, making sure that it works. You also have to build a management team, and you have to have money as well. So I talk about where do you get the money, the different sources of money. Of course, we have angel investors, we have venture capital investors, you have commercial banks. Some companies are worthy of going public, depending on your revenues, the size of the company, these types of things. But there are sources for funds. And I talk about that in my book. There's an entire chapter on that. Also, how do you go about presenting your company? I actually put an outline in my book on how you present your company to an investor in order to get them to put money into your company or to fund your dream or fund your idea. I talk about hiring your management team. You know, you're going to have 2 or 3 people around you that are going to be your inner circle, then you're going to have others below them, and you have to be very careful about who you hire and your interviewing techniques and what's important and what's not important. I talk about the fact that when investors look at your management team, it's like a beauty contest, not to see how attractive they are, but to see how they show and how they look and what they say and how they perform. So you've got to make sure that your process is sound as you're building your management team if you want to have a successful company. And of course, if you've got the right talent around you who are highly motivated just like you are, and they're willing to work hard, you're going to be more successful. The worst thing in the world would be for you to surround yourself with people who were not willing to work as hard as you, and you would not be able to grow your company as fast or as large as you would like for it to grow, because you just simply didn't hire the right management team. It's kind of like having a sports team, a football team, and not picking the best players to play on your team. You want to make sure that you always do. So, you know, there are things too, by the way, in the process that can go wrong. And I have a whole chapter not only on building your management team, but on things that can go wrong and things that you need to do to make sure that you don't have any problems and that nothing seriously does go wrong with your company. You don't want to work 20 years or 15 years or 10 years building a great company and then have something take it away from you. So there's a chapter, and through my experiences in building multiple companies, there are several things that I think were important. And I put those things into my book, and I think you'll want to read them. I talk about doing mergers and acquisitions. There's a point in time where a company might decide they want to buy other companies within their industry, or they may want to add additional legs on the stool. They may want to get out of the lane that they're in and add some other lanes, and of course you have to be a certain size to do that. We all know that pure play companies typically on Wall Street get higher multiples, and I talk about that in my book. There's a whole chapter on that. So I think that you would find that that's interesting. But then I have a couple of chapters on making the difference and how do you take a company really to the top of your industry. Spent a lot of time in the book talking about those things, because there's just certain things that you need to do or you need to know in terms of your leadership, your management, that I think are important. And those are things that I used in building the multiple companies that I built that I think played a major role in me being able to accomplish the things that I accomplished in terms of our success in building billion-dollar companies. Now, not everybody's going to build a billion-dollar company, but I can tell you that the things that I talk about in my book are things that you can use in building even a small company, whether it's just a local one-store company or whether it's a multi-state regional company or whether it's a national or an international company. All of these things can be applied and can be used. So you want to make sure you take a look at the book. Again, I cover these things in the book, and there are multiple chapters that I think you would find value in. So if you're interested in building a successful company, just like I did, you can go to www.seventhpower.com and pre-purchase my book. When building the billion-dollar company, here are a few things to think about.